Malik and the Jinn's Promise. Mystical Muscat, Oman. Near East Jinn Chronicles Chapter 1. The whispering sands Muscat shimmered under a searing sun, a city forged from sand and the dreams of its ancestors. Palm trees swayed to the rhythm of a desert breeze that carried tales of mystics, poets, and jinn. Hidden behind the city's modern facade, labyrinthine alleys twisted their way through ancient stone homes, leading the curious through the vibrant souks bursting with color and scent. Malik, a sinewy teenager with sun-kissed skin and inquisitive hazel eyes, navigated these streets with practiced ease. He'd grown up listening to the tales of the old men in the neighborhood, stories of when Muscat was a maze of mysteries and the Oman Desert was said to house beings unseen by the human eye. For Malik, these were just tales, bedtime stories told to scare children, nothing more. But that night was different. Sneaking out after the midnight call to prayer, Malik decided to explore a newly discovered site in the outskirts of Muscat. Word had spread that someone or something had been building structures overnight, intricate patterns in the sand, structures that were clearly not the work of man. These whispers were usually dismissed as hoaxes, stories to attract the occasional tourist or the attention of bored teenagers. Yet, something called to Malik, a beckoning he couldn't resist. With a small backpack containing a flashlight, water, and a tattered journal where he often wrote down stories and drew sketches, Malik began his journey. As he approached the site, the quiet hum of the city was replaced by the haunting whispers of the desert. The dunes seemed to shift, almost as if they were alive. And then he saw it, a magnificent structure made entirely of sand. Its walls were carved with designs so intricate they seemed almost otherworldly. It was as if the sand had danced into form, creating artistry that left Malik spellbound. Curiosity propelled him forward, and as he ventured inside, he felt the temperature drop, an unnatural coolness wrapping around him. His flashlight flickered across the interior, revealing shimmering carnelian stones embedded in the walls, their luminescence casting an eerie glow. Drawn to the heart of the structure, Malik came upon a floor made entirely of glass, reflecting the starry night above. But as he gazed down, he saw another realm, one that mirrored our own yet was so different. Towering structures, palaces of gold, and beings of fire flitted about. Suddenly, the desert wind picked up outside, howling like a chorus of tormented souls. Malik felt a presence behind him, a cold, looming shadow that wasn't his own. He slowly turned around, and there, hovering above the ground, was a figure, a being made of smokeless fire, a jinn. The entity had eyes that burned like ember, staring intently at the intruder. "I know you," the jinn whispered, its voice echoing like the desert winds. Terrified, Malik stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the glass floor. The jinn moved closer, its ethereal form undulating with the wind. "You are of the lineage that once summoned my kind. You bear the mark." Confused and paralyzed with fear, Malik couldn't respond. The jinn circled him, its gaze never leaving Malik's. "Why have you come here, child of man?" Regaining some semblance of courage, Malik found his voice, albeit shaky. I wanted to see if the stories were true. About the structures, the artistry, the jinn." The jinn chuckled, a sound both melodic and menacing. "Curiosity can be a gift or a curse. And tonight, it has led you to the threshold of worlds. Know this, Malik, what you've seen tonight is a mere glimpse. The realm of the jinn is vast and ancient." As the jinn spoke, the sand beneath Malik's feet began to shift. The patterns on the walls glowed brighter, revealing hidden inscriptions. Words from a time long forgotten. Malik's eyes widened in recognition. The writings mirrored the ones he'd seen in old manuscripts at the mosque. Realization dawned upon Malik. He'd uncovered a portal, a bridge between realms. And the Jinn before him was its guardian. The desert whispered once again, carrying with it the weight of secrets, of tales untold, of destinies intertwined. A new chapter was about to begin in the annals of Muscat, where a boy and a Jinn would come together, bridging worlds and unearthing legends that would change the course of their fates forever. Chapter 2. Echoes of the past. Malik's pulse thrummed in his ears, drowning out the desert's soft whisper. Standing before the enigmatic Jinn, he felt like a mouse ensnared by a viper. The strange, ethereal figure before him seemed to pulse with an energy, ageless and ancient, its form ever shifting, from solid to translucent. "Who are you?" Malik managed to ask, his voice trembling. The Jinn let out a soft, mournful sigh. "Names have power, young one, and in this realm, revealing one's true name can be both a gift and a curse. But you may call me Isaac." A gust of wind rustled the sands outside, and the walls of the structure shimmered, as if alive. Isaac continued, "The sands hold memories, Malik. Of days long gone, of deals made and promises broken, of lineage and legacy." As the Jinn spoke, images began to materialize on the walls. Shadows danced, forming depictions of grand palaces, bustling souks, and majestic landscapes. Among them, Malik saw a familiar scene, a man who bore a striking resemblance to him, standing in front of a Jinn, an exchange taking place. "That is your ancestor," Isaac whispered, his voice echoing around the room. "He was a scholar, well versed in the lore of our kind. He sought our help in protecting this land, and in return, he made a pact." Malik, eyes wide, watched as the scene played out. The man handed the Jinn an amulet, a glowing pendant inscribed with ancient symbols. The Jinn, in turn, touched the man's forehead, leaving a shimmering mark. "The mark of the covenant," Isaac intoned. "A bond between our realms. This mark is passed down through generations, and you, Malik, are its inheritor." Stunned, Malik touched his forehead, feeling the subtle warmth of the mark that had always been there, yet remained unnoticed. "What does it mean?" he whispered. "It means you have a role to play, a destiny intertwined with ours. The sands remember, and they have waited for you." Just as Malik was about to ask another question, a sudden tremor rocked the structure. Isaac's form flickered, his countenance turning stormy. "They are coming." "Who?" Malik asked, panic creeping into his voice. "Those who oppose the covenant. Those who want to sever the connection between our worlds," Isaac replied, his voice filled with urgency. The sand structure began to crack, and through the widening gaps, dark, shadowy figures began to slither in, other Jinn, their forms more menacing, their intentions clear. Isaac positioned himself between Malik and the intruders, flames flickering around him. "Go! Find the amulet. Protect the bond," Isaac roared, unleashing a wave of energy that sent the shadowy Jinn reeling. Without a second thought, Malik sprinted towards the exit, heart pounding, the screams of the battling Jinn echoing in his ears. As he neared the entrance, one of the dark Jinn lunged at him, its elongated fingers grasping for his throat. But before it could reach him, a wall of sand rose, shielding Malik, allowing him to escape into the night. Gasping for breath, Malik ran as fast as his legs could carry him, not daring to look back. The moonlit dunes stretched endlessly before him, their slopes treacherous and shifting. Every gust of wind, every whisper of the sand, sent shivers down his spine. Was it friend or foe? Could he trust the very desert that had birthed such terrifying entities? Hours seemed to pass, and finally, the familiar lights of Muscat gleamed in the distance. Collapsing near a cluster of date palms, exhaustion overtaking him, Malik tried to make sense of the night's events. His ancestors' pact, the Jinn's battle, the Mark of the Covenant, it all felt like a fevered dream. And yet, the sense of impending danger, the weight of responsibility, was all too real. He had to find the amulet. But where would he begin? Who could he trust with this secret? Memories of tales told by the old men of the city, stories of hidden treasures and sacred relics, swirled in his mind. Could there be a clue among them? As dawn began to break, Malik made his way back to the heart of Muscat. He knew his journey was just beginning, a path fraught with danger, mystery, and ancient magic. But he wasn't alone. The Mark of the Covenant pulsed on his forehead, a beacon calling allies and adversaries alike. The city, with its bustling souks, echoing mosques, and shadowed alleyways, held secrets. And Malik was determined to uncover them, one by one. Chapter 3. Whispers in the souk. The sun had begun its descent over Muscat, casting the city in a warm, amber hue. Malik, wearing a traditional dishdasha, melded seamlessly into the thrumming energy of the souk, the marketplace at the heart of the city. He could hear merchants haggling with customers over the price of spices, textiles, and trinkets. Amidst the melange of scents, frankincense, grilled meat, and fresh fruit, a particular aroma beckoned him. Following it, Malik found himself in front of a stall laden with old manuscripts, scrolls, and amulets. The elderly merchant, face lined with wisdom and age, beckoned him closer. "You seem drawn to the old tales," the merchant remarked, eyes piercing yet kind. "What do you seek?" Swallowing his hesitation, Malik responded, "Stories. One's about jinns and old pacts." The merchant leaned back, studying Malik with new interest. "Ah, the ancient ones. Few these days care about such tales. But they are more than just stories. They are history, woven into the very fabric of this land." He selected an old manuscript, its pages yellowed and brittle, and handed it to Malik. "This speaks of the Mark of the Covenant and the bond between jinns and certain families. But, beware, for such knowledge can be both a boon and a bane." Malik began to read. The script was ancient, but he recognized the tales, the creation of jinns from smokeless fire, their world parallel to ours, and their abilities that both fascinated and terrified humankind. One particular passage drew his attention. In the heart of the desert, beneath the crescent moon, lies the resting place of the Amulet of Bonds. Guarded by the spirits of the dunes and protected by an oath, it holds the power to bridge realms. As Malik looked up, his eyes met the merchant's, who nodded solemnly. "You bear the mark, don't you?" he whispered. Taken aback, Malik touched his forehead, the weight of his legacy feeling heavier than ever. "How did you? Question mark quote. "Your eyes," the merchant said. "They tell a story, young one. A story of destiny, challenge, and ancient magic." Suddenly, the ambiance of the souk shifted. A cold wind blew, extinguishing lanterns and causing shawls to ripple like disturbed water. A feeling of unease settled, and the vibrant chatter was replaced by hushed whispers. From the shadows, hooded figures emerged, their faces obscured, moving with a purpose towards Malik. Panic gripped him, and memories of the previous night's encounter with the Jinn flooded back. Without a word, the elderly merchant pulled Malik behind the stall, shoving a small leather pouch into his hands. "Go to the Al-Sahil Mosque," he urged. "Seek out Imam Rafiq. He will guide you further. And trust no one, for they are closer than you think." With the hooded figures closing in, Malik bolted, weaving through alleyways, his heart pounding in his chest. The once familiar souk now felt like a labyrinth, every turn potentially leading to a dead end. Behind him, he could hear the rapid footsteps of his pursuers, their intent clear. As he ran, the pouch's contents jingled, Within it was not just the manuscript but also a small key, ornate and ancient. It bore an emblem, a crescent moon intertwined with a flame. The emblem of his family. His feet, driven by instinct and ancestral memory, led him to the Al-Sahil Mosque. Just as he was about to enter, a hand clasped over his mouth, pulling him into the shadows. Fear surged, but it was quickly replaced by relief when he saw Imam Rafiq, eyes filled with concern. Quickly, inside, the Imam whispered, leading him through a hidden passage beneath the mosque. As they descended, Malik relayed his encounter with Ishaq, the jinn's warning, and the subsequent chase. Imam Rafiq listened intently, his face grave. "You are now at the center of an ancient struggle," the Imam began. "But remember, you are not alone. Your ancestors, the Jinn Ishaq, and now I, stand with you." The passage opened into a chamber, walls lined with scriptures and artifacts. In the center stood a pedestal, upon which lay a replica of the amulet from the manuscript. "Your journey begins here," Imam Rafiq said. "The key you possess unlocks the path to the amulet of bonds. But be warned, for with it comes trials that will test your mettle, your faith, and your lineage." As Malik took in the Imam's words, determination replaced fear. The weight of his legacy, rather than burdening him, now empowered him. With allies by his side, the mark of the covenant shining on his forehead, and the key to his destiny in hand, Malik was ready to face the shadows that lurked, both in the realm of man and jinn. Chapter 4. The lost city of jinns. The chamber beneath the mosque was dimly lit, illuminated only by a few candles whose flickering light cast long shadows on the walls. Malik could sense the antiquity and importance of this space. It was more than just a room. It was a sanctuary for knowledge and mysteries. Imam Rafiq led Malik to a massive wooden table upon which were spread ancient maps, scrolls, and manuscripts. With a gesture, he indicated for Malik to approach. "Do you recognize this?" the Imam inquired, pointing to a worn-out map with intricate details. Malik squinted, trying to make sense of the markings. "It looks like a map of Oman, but there are places marked on it that I've never seen or heard of." "Exactly," Imam Rafiq affirmed. "This is a map of the old world, the world as it was known to our ancestors and to the jinn. These places, many of them, have been swallowed by the sands of time. Yet, they exist." Malik's eyes widened with realization. "The resting place of the amulet of bonds, it's on this map, isn't it?" Imam Rafiq nodded. "The amulet lies within the heart of the lost city of Al-Jannat, a city built by jinns for their kin and protected by enchantments so powerful that it remains hidden from the mortal eye." Malik could feel the weight of what was being asked of him. To find a lost city, to retrieve an ancient amulet, and to confront the forces that were hunting him, it was a journey fraught with danger. "And the key?" Malik questioned, holding up the ornate key from the pouch. "It unlocks the gates of Al-Jannat," Imam Rafiq explained. "But it will also attract those who desire the power of the amulet for dark purposes. You must be vigilant, Malik. From here on, your every step will be watched." Malik's resolve strengthened. "Tell me what I must do." "You need to head into the heart of the desert," the Imam directed, tracing a route on the map. "Along the way, you will encounter trials that test your spirit, mind, and body. Remember, the jinn and their world operate on different principles. What you see may not always be real, and what you don't see may be more real than you can imagine." As Malik was about to set forth on his journey, a knock echoed through the chamber. Both of them stiffened. The Imam quickly rolled up the map, handing it to Malik along with a satchel filled with supplies. "You must leave now," Imam Rafiq urged. "Use the tunnels beneath the mosque. They'll take you outside the city limits." Following the Imam's instructions, Malik navigated the winding tunnels, which seemed to stretch endlessly. As he walked, the weight of his responsibility pressed down on him, but also a strange, newfound sense of purpose. When he finally emerged, he found himself on the outskirts of Muscat, overlooking the vast expanse of the Omani desert. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a pale glow over the dunes. Suddenly, a chilling wind blew, and the sand beneath him began to shift. From the depths of the desert emerged dark, ethereal figures, their forms shimmering as if made of smokeless fire, the Jinn. Malik, heart racing, held the key tightly, readying himself for what lay ahead. But, to his surprise, the Jinn didn't attack. Instead, they encircled him, their whispers filling the air. "He is the chosen one. He bears the mark. Protect him. Guide him." One of the Jinn, taller and more luminous than the others, stepped forward. "We are guardians of Al-Jannat," it intoned. "Long have we waited for one who bears the mark of the covenant." Malik, trying to mask his astonishment, responded, "I seek the amulet of bonds." "Will you help me?" The Jinn nodded. "We will guide you to Al-Jannat, but the trials within are for you to face alone." With the Jinn leading the way, Malik ventured deeper into the desert. Along the journey, he faced mirages that tried to lead him astray, sandstorms that tested his resolve, and ancient riddles that challenged his intellect. Yet, with each trial, he grew stronger, more attuned to the world of the Jinn and the legacy he carried. Days turned into nights, and nights into days, until they reached the gates of Al-Jannat. Towering walls made of golden sandstone loomed ahead, and the entrance was adorned with carvings that depicted Jinn and humans in harmony. Using the key, Malik unlocked the gates, which swung open to reveal a city untouched by time. Lush gardens, palaces made of crystal, and canals flowing with water so pure it sparkled. Yet, the city was eerily silent. No Jinn or human in sight. Malik, sensing the presence of the amulet, ventured towards the heart of the city. As he approached a grand palace, he felt a surge of energy. Entering its main hall, he saw the amulet of bonds, floating above a pedestal, its glow illuminating the room. But as Malik reached out to grasp it, the room transformed. Walls closed in, shadows danced menacingly, and haunting whispers filled the air. "Do you think you are worthy? Can you bear the weight of two worlds?" Fear threatened to overpower him, but thinking of Imam Rafiq's words, Malik closed his eyes and steadied his breathing. "I am the chosen one," he whispered to himself. "I bear the mark. I am ready." When he opened his eyes, the illusions had vanished, and the amulet lay on the pedestal, waiting. As Malik touched the amulet, he felt a rush of memories, of Jinn and humans, of promises made and broken, and of a bond that tied them together. With the amulet secured, Malik made his way out of Al-Jannat, the guardians of the city ensuring his safe passage. But as he stepped out of the city's gates, he realized his journey had only just begun. For the balance between the worlds was fragile, and with the amulet in his possession, Malik was now the key to maintaining or shattering that balance. Chapter 5. The Dance of Shadows. Muscat felt different as Malik returned, its once familiar streets and sounds now echoing with hidden whispers and shadows that moved just out of sight. The weight of the amulet of bonds around his neck felt both comforting and treacherous, like an old friend turned enemy. He made his way to the mosque, hoping to seek guidance from Imam Rafiq. But as he approached, he felt a palpable change in the air. The warmth and peace that the mosque usually emanated had been replaced by a chilling silence. Hesitantly, Malik entered, his steps echoing in the vastness of the sacred space. He found Imam Rafiq praying in a secluded corner, but the wise old man seemed different, distant. "Imam Rafiq," Malik whispered, not wanting to disturb his meditation. But the Imam's response was not what Malik had expected. Slowly turning his head, his eyes met Malik's with a glint of malevolence that had never been there before. The ambient light seemed to dim as the Imam's voice, now deeper and more resonant, echoed through the mosque. "You have what many desire, young Malik. Power attracts both light and darkness." Heart racing, Malik took a step back. This wasn't the Imam he knew. "Who are you?" he demanded. The Imam's laughter was cold. A mere shadow of what once was and what could be. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and from the shadows, figures began to emerge. The Jinn, but not the guardians Malik had met. These were darker, more menacing, their forms constantly shifting like smoke. "We have waited long for the amulet, and you have so kindly delivered it to us," one of the Jinn hissed. A realization dawned upon Malik. The amulet didn't just bind the Jinn and humans, it was a beacon, attracting all who desired its power. And with it hanging openly around his neck, he'd unknowingly become the prime target. Malik gripped the amulet, invoking its power. Light radiated from it, momentarily blinding the Jinn and giving him a chance to escape. He sprinted towards the entrance, but the mosque's doors slammed shut on their own. Trapped, Malik looked around desperately for another exit. But as he did, the ground beneath him gave way, sending him plummeting into the darkness below. He landed hard on a cold, stone floor. Picking himself up, Malik realized he was in the underground tunnels he'd traversed before. But these seemed different, older and infused with an oppressive energy. Whispers echoed around him, recounting tales of betrayal and broken promises. They were the memories of Jinn who'd been bound by the amulet, their pain and anger seeping into the very walls of the tunnels. Gathering his courage, Malik began to navigate the maze-like underground. Each turn presented a new challenge, a memory to relive, a riddle to solve, a shadow to confront. Yet, with the amulet as his guide, Malik faced them head-on. Hours felt like days as Malik wandered through the tunnels, the line between reality and illusion blurring. And just when hope seemed lost, a familiar voice reached out to him. "Malik," it called softly. "Follow my voice." It was Layla, the girl from the marketplace. How could she be here? But as Malik moved towards the sound of her voice, he realized that this Layla was different, ethereal and luminous, with a glow that seemed to come from within. "You're not Layla," Malik exclaimed, stopping in his tracks. The figure smiled. "No, but I wear her form to guide you. Layla's heart is pure, and her spirit resonates with the energy of the amulet. Through her, I can reach you." Confused, Malik replied, "Who are you?" "I am a guardian," the figure explained. "One of the original protectors of the amulet. Long ago, I sacrificed my form to ensure the amulet's safety, becoming one with its energy." Malik looked down at the amulet, its glow resonating with the guardian's words. "Why help me?" "Because you are the chosen one," she replied. "The one destined to restore the balance. But to do so, you must face your deepest fears and confront the darkness that seeks to claim the amulet." Determined, Malik nodded. "Guide me." With the guardian leading the way, Malik made his way out of the tunnels, emerging back in the mosque. But the shadows awaited, more formidable than before. As they closed in, Malik felt a surge of energy. The amulet, reacting to his determination, unleashed a blinding light, dispelling the Jinn and freeing Imam Rafiq from their influence. Breathing heavily, Malik approached the Imam, who looked weakened but relieved. "Thank you," the Imam whispered. "The Jinn's influence was strong, but your will was stronger." Malik nodded, realizing the journey ahead was far from over. With the amulet in his possession and darkness at his heels, He was the beacon of hope in a world teetering on the brink of chaos. Chapter 6. Whispers in the sand. The streets of Muscat lay shrouded in an unsettling silence. The chatter of the markets, the laughter of children playing, the call to prayer, all had become muted whispers, barely audible in the shadowed corners of the city. It was as if the very essence of life had been siphoned out, leaving behind an eerie vacuum. Malik walked with a newfound caution. Every step he took seemed to resonate more profoundly than the one before, the echo lingering in the still air. Even as the amulet of bonds pulsed warmly against his chest, he could feel the malevolent gaze of the unseen tracking him. Muscat, his beloved city, had transformed into a menacing labyrinth overnight, with shadows that seemed to writhe and stretch with a life of their own. The Imam had warned him of the consequences of possessing the amulet, of becoming a beacon that drew both protective guardians and malevolent forces. But the reality was more harrowing than any tale he'd been told. The very balance between the worlds of man and Jinn had been unsettled, and Malik found himself at the epicenter of this tempest. He reached his home, a modest structure nestled in the heart of the old city, and was immediately engulfed in a tight embrace by his mother. Her eyes, always a comforting shade of amber, now shimmered with tears of worry. "I feared the worst, my son," she whispered, her voice trembling. Pulling back, Malik took in the sight of his home. It had become a sanctuary, with talismans and verses from the Holy Quran adorning every door and window, a protective barrier against the encroaching darkness. "Father?" Malik asked, looking around. His mother's gaze dropped. "He's in the study, preparing. He believes the old tales might hold a clue, a way to fortify the amulet's protection." Malik nodded, making his way to the study, a room filled with aged manuscripts, scrolls, and artifacts passed down through generations. His father, a tall, lean figure, sat engrossed in a tattered book, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Father," Malik began, "the city, it's changed." His father looked up, his eyes betraying a depth of knowledge and sadness. "The Jinn have awakened, Malik. Not just the guardians, but those of the darker realm. They've felt the shift, and they're drawn to the amulet." "But why now?" Malik asked. "The amulet has been in our family for generations." His father sighed. "Because, my son, it was dormant. But now, it has found its true bearer. The legends spoke of a time when the amulet would awaken and choose its guardian. You, Malik, are that guardian." Malik felt the weight of the revelation. "How do I protect the city, our people?" His father handed him the old book. "This is the Chronicle of Bonds. It speaks of a ritual, a way to harness the amulet's power fully. But it requires components that are hard to find, scattered across the desert." A sense of purpose filled Malik. "Then I must find them." His father nodded, his expression grave. "You must tread carefully. The desert is the realm of the Jinn. They'll sense your presence." As night fell, Malik prepared for his journey. Equipped with supplies and the Chronicle, he set forth into the vast expanse of the Omani desert. The sands whispered tales of old, a time when Jinn and man coexisted, a time before the rift. As Malik ventured deeper, he could feel the very fabric of reality thinning. The nights were darker, the stars more luminous, and the shadows more alive. His first destination was the ancient ruins of a temple said to house the crystal tear, a gem of pure clarity that could amplify the amulet's power. Legend spoke of its guardians, Jinn of the old world, who had sworn to protect it. After days of travel, the ruins appeared on the horizon, their once majestic spires now worn and weathered by time. As Malik approached, he felt a rush of cold air. Figures materialized from the sands, Jinn of the ancient world, their forms flickering like aged film reels. "You seek the tear?" one of them hissed, its voice like the rustling of dry leaves. "I do," Malik replied, clutching the chronicle. "I seek to protect my world and yours." The Jinn circled him, their curiosity palpable. "Many have tried, human," another whispered. "All have failed." "But I have the amulet," Malik responded, revealing the glowing relic. A murmur ran through the Jinn. "The bearer," they whispered among themselves. After what felt like an eternity, the lead Jinn stepped forward. "Very well. But to earn the tear, you must prove your worth." And so, under the watchful gaze of the ancient Jinn and the starlit desert sky, Malik's trial began. He was tested in mind, body, and spirit, facing challenges that pushed him to his limits. But with every test, the amulet's glow grew brighter, its power resonating with Malik's determination. Finally, as dawn painted the desert in hues of rose and gold, the last trial came to an end. Exhausted, Malik dropped to his knees, his clothes torn, his body covered in sweat and desert grit. The Jinn, previously distant and impassive, now looked upon him with a mixture of respect and awe. "The tear has not witnessed such determination in eons," the lead Jinn said, its tone softer. From the heart of the ruins, it retrieved a crystal, shimmering with an inner light. "The crystal tear," it whispered, presenting it to Malik. Gratefully, Malik reached out and took the gem, feeling its cool weight in his palm. As the amulet and the tear came into contact, a surge of energy radiated outwards, sending ripples through the sands and the very air. The ancient Jinn bowed slightly. "You have proven your worth, bearer. May the tear aid you in mending the rift between our worlds." With the tear secured and the chronicle guiding his path, Malik continued his journey across the desert. Every step took him closer to his destiny, every challenge forging him into the guardian the legends had foretold. However, unbeknownst to Malik, the malevolent gaze that had tracked him in Muscat still lingered. As he ventured further, darker forces stirred in the shadows, drawn to the combined power of the amulet and the tear. The greatest trials were yet to come, and the fate of both the world of man and Jinn hung in the balance. Chapter 7. The labyrinth of illusions. The first light of dawn stretched across the vast Omani desert, painting the sand in hues of gold and crimson. The ruins that had stood as silent witnesses to Malik's trials shimmered, almost as if they were waking from a long slumber. The ancient Jinn, guardians of the crystal tear, bowed in respect. "You have proven your worth, bearer," the lead Jinn declared, his voice echoing through the morning air. The Jinn stepped aside, revealing an entrance to an underground chamber, a maze of shadows and whispers. "You will find the crystal tear at the heart of this labyrinth. But be warned, for this is no ordinary maze. It is a mirror to your soul, reflecting your deepest fears and desires," the Jinn whispered. Malik took a deep breath, feeling the amulet pulsate in rhythm with his heartbeat. The entrance to the labyrinth beckoned, an archway carved with intricate patterns and symbols. With a determined stride, he stepped into the gloom. The darkness was almost tangible, wrapping around Malik like a shroud. He could hear the muted whispers of the Jinn fade away as he ventured deeper. Guided only by the soft glow of the amulet, he navigated the winding corridors, each turn revealing another enigmatic passageway. But it wasn't long before the maze began to play its sinister games. The walls whispered secrets, echoes of past regrets, memories long buried. Shadowy figures darted in and out of sight, their laughter chilling and taunting. It was as if the labyrinth had come alive, reading Malik's thoughts, projecting his darkest fears. Suddenly, a corridor opened up to reveal a haunting scene. It was the bustling marketplace of Muscat, but everything was grotesquely distorted. The stalls were on fire, the sky painted a blood red, and the townspeople, his family, friends, all lay motionless, their eyes accusing. A shadowy figure, resembling Malik but with hollow eyes, stood in the center, holding the amulet. "Is this what you seek?" It sneered. "To be the savior? Look around. This is the world you failed." Malik's heart raced. He recognized this apparition, a manifestation of his own self-doubt and guilt. He had always felt the weight of responsibility, the fear of not being enough. But he knew this was an illusion, a test. Taking a deep breath, he focused on the amulet, drawing strength from its warmth. "You are not real," Malik declared, his voice unwavering. The shadowy figure laughed. "But your fears are. Dive deeper, bearer, and witness the depths of your own despair." The scene shifted again, and Malik found himself standing on the edge of a vast chasm. Howling winds whipped around, and far below, he could see the swirling vortex of darkness, a void threatening to consume everything. From the void emerged ghostly figures, reaching out, their cries filled with anguish. Among them, Malik recognized his parents, their eyes pleading. "Save us," they whispered. Tears streamed down Malik's face. The weight of the world pressed down on him, threatening to push him into the abyss. But even in this torment, a voice within him refused to yield. Closing his eyes, Malik began to recite verses from the Holy Quran, their sacred words cutting through the darkness. The amulet's glow intensified, bathing the chasm in its radiant light. The apparitions dissolved, and the void began to close. When Malik opened his eyes, he was back in the heart of the labyrinth, standing before a crystal pedestal. Nestled within was the crystal tear, its clarity reflecting the myriad colors of the cosmos. As he reached out, the tear responded, floating into the air before merging with the amulet. A surge of energy coursed through Malik, a power unlike any he had ever felt. Emerging from the labyrinth, the ancient Jinn awaited, their expressions one of reverence. "The tear has chosen you, bearer. The balance between our worlds rests in your hands," the lead Jinn declared. Malik nodded, understanding the gravity of his mission. "I will not fail," he vowed. But even as he journeyed back to Muscat, a shadowy presence watched from the dunes, Nadir, the malevolent Jinn, his eyes filled with rage and envy. The final confrontation was yet to come. Chapter 8. Veil of Shadows. The desert, vast and unending, was a realm of paradoxes. By day, it blazed with an unyielding sun, each grain of sand and ember glowing with heated life. But by night, it transformed into a world of chilling winds and haunting silences, where the very dunes seemed to breathe, alive with whispered secrets. As Malik traveled further, he felt a growing unease. While the crystal tear's power fortified the amulet, it also seemed to act as a beacon, drawing darker entities from the veiled corners of the desert. By day, they remained hidden, lurking just beyond his perception. But as night fell, their presence grew palpable. On the third night, as Malik set up camp beneath a canopy of stars, the winds began to change. Whispers, soft, insidious, and seductive, wove through the gusts, promising power, immortality, and darker desires. Bearer of the amulet, surrender it and embrace the shadows. Malik clutched the chronicle, reciting verses to ward off the creeping malevolence. But the voices grew louder, more insistent. The sands around him began to churn and whirl, coalescing into shadowy figures with eyes like burning coals. These weren't the ancient Jinn he had encountered before, but something far more sinister. Suddenly, a piercing scream cut through the night. From the swirling sands emerged a figure, a woman, her eyes hollow, her face gaunt, her skin as pale as moonlight. It was Noor, Malik's childhood friend, who had vanished years ago without a trace. "Malik," she whispered, her voice a hoarse rasp. "Help me." Heart pounding, Malik reached out, but as their fingers brushed, she disintegrated into a cloud of ash, her scream echoing in the void. He recoiled in horror, realizing the malevolent entities were using memories and lost souls to torment him. "Stay away," he shouted, his voice resonating with the combined might of the amulet and the tear. A barrier of light erupted around him, pushing the shadowy entities back. From the heart of the darkness emerged a colossal figure, a Jinn of nightmares, its form an ever-shifting amalgamation of shadow and smoke. "You cannot resist us forever," it boomed, its voice like thunder. "The amulet and the tear will be ours." Gritting his teeth, Malik focused on the Chronicles' teachings. He began chanting verses in an ancient tongue, the words forming a bridge between realms, drawing on the energies of the guardians that had protected his lineage. The desert responded. From the depths of the sands rose Jinn of old, their forms majestic and ethereal. They surrounded Malik, creating a vortex of power that clashed with the encroaching darkness. A cataclysmic battle ensued, the very fabric of reality quivering as forces of light and dark collided. The night sky, once a placid canvas of stars, now erupted in hues of fiery orange and icy blue. But even as the ancient Jinn held the line, Malik could feel the weight of the onslaught. The amulet and tear, despite their immense power, were not enough. He needed to end this confrontation before the malevolent entities could consolidate their strength. Drawing on every ounce of his will, Malik focused on the heart of the shadowy colossus. He remembered Muscat, its once vibrant streets now choked with fear. He thought of his parents, of Noor, and of all the souls that had been ensnared by the darkness. With a cry of defiance, he unleashed a blinding surge of power. The desert lit up, brighter than the noonday sun. The malevolent entities screamed in agony, their forms dissolving into wisps of smoke. The colossal Jinn, its dark essence destabilized, imploded in a vortex of shadows. As silence descended, the ancient Jinn nodded in acknowledgement, their ethereal forms merging back into the sands. Malik, drained and exhausted, collapsed, the amulet and tear glowing softly by his side. The battle had been won, but at a great cost. The amulet's glow had dimmed, and cracks had formed on the crystal tear. Malik realized that while he had repelled the immediate threat, a larger war loomed on the horizon. With the Chronicle as his guide, he knew his journey was far from over. The desert held more secrets, more challenges, and the line between the world of man and Jinn had never been thinner. And as dawn broke, casting the dunes in a golden hue, Malik set forth, determined to mend the rift and shield both realms from the encroaching abyss. The Near East Jinn Chronicles had only just begun. Chapter 9. The Oasis of Lost Souls. The vast desert stretched endlessly before Malik, its sands shimmering with the heat of the relentless sun. Each dune seemed to ripple and shift, as if the desert itself was a living, breathing entity, concealing countless secrets beneath its golden expanse. The amulet, although dimmer than before, still pulsed softly against his chest, and the fractured crystal tear seemed to weep silent tears of its own. The Chronicle spoke of an oasis, a place where the veil between the worlds of man and Jinn was at its thinnest, a sanctuary for lost souls and a reservoir of ancient power. If Malik was to mend the crystal tear and strengthen the amulet, this oasis was his only hope. But the journey was not without peril. Whispers spoke of those who sought the oasis and never returned, their souls forever trapped in its depths. Yet, with every step, Malik felt an inexplicable pull, guiding him towards his destination. Days turned into nights, and the line between reality and illusion began to blur. Mirage-like visions danced before Malik's eyes, cities of gold, vast gardens, and shadowy figures that seemed to beckon him closer. But the Chronicle had warned of the desert's deceitful nature, and Malik pressed on, his resolve unwavering. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in hues of crimson and gold, a peculiar sight emerged on the horizon, an oasis, its waters a deep shade of azure, surrounded by verdant palms. But unlike any ordinary oasis, this one radiated an otherworldly aura. The waters seemed to hum with an ancient melody, and the air was thick with both promise and menace. As Malik approached, he felt a coldness grip his heart. The amulet's pulse quickened, almost in warning. The waters of the oasis reflected not the sky above but a dark abyss, teeming with lost souls. Their faces, twisted in anguish and despair, reached out, their whispers becoming a cacophonous symphony of regret. Save us. Join us. Pushing back the fear that threatened to overwhelm him, Malik knelt by the water's edge. Using the Chronicle as a guide, he began to chant, his voice intertwining with the sorrowful cries of the trapped souls. As the incantation grew in intensity, a whirlpool formed at the center of the oasis. From its depths emerged a figure, her form ethereal and fluid, her eyes a piercing shade of green. She was Alia, the guardian of the oasis. "Why do you disturb the sanctity of this place, bearer of the amulet?" she demanded, her voice echoing across the still waters. "I seek to mend what has been broken, to restore balance," Malik replied, revealing the damaged crystal tear. Alia's gaze softened. "Many have tried and failed. What makes you believe you will succeed?" "The Chronicle of Bonds," Malik responded, holding up the ancient book. "And a determination to protect both our worlds." Alia studied him for what felt like an eternity. "Very well. But know this, to mend the tear, you must face the darkest corners of your soul. Are you prepared for such a trial?" Malik nodded, steeling himself for the challenge ahead. The waters of the oasis began to churn, and Malik felt himself being pulled into its depths. He was submerged in a realm of memories, regrets, and fears. He saw his city, Muscat, not as it was, but as it could be, consumed by darkness, its streets filled with despair. He saw his parents, their spirits broken, and Noor, her face contorted in eternal agony. But among these visions, he also saw moments of hope, a child's laughter, the comforting embrace of a loved one, the radiant glow of the amulet guiding him through the darkest nights. Drawing strength from these memories, Malik confronted his fears, dispelling the illusions that sought to entrap him. And as he did, the crystal tear began to heal, its fractures sealing, its glow restored. When Malik emerged from the waters, the oasis had transformed. The lost souls had found peace, their faces now reflecting contentment and gratitude. "You have succeeded where many have failed," Alia said, her voice filled with wonder. "The balance has been restored, but your journey is far from over." As Malik prepared to leave, Alia whispered a prophecy: "The sands will shift, and old enemies will rise. But with the amulet's light and the tear's clarity, you shall forge a bond unbreakable." With a renewed sense of purpose, Malik ventured forth, the oasis of lost souls now a beacon of hope in the vast desert. The next chapter of the Near East Jinn Chronicles awaited, and Malik was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 10. Shadows of the Past. The city of Muscat, once a thriving tapestry of life and culture, now stood under the shadow of an invisible threat. While Malik had journeyed through the desert, confronting ancient guardians and mystical realms, the city had been gripped by a foreboding silence. Streets that once echoed with the vibrant cacophony of daily life were now hushed, and a thick, palpable tension hung in the air. Upon Malik's return, he found the gates of the city closed, guarded by soldiers with fear evident in their eyes. As he approached, one of the guards recognized him, relief washing over his face. "Malik! We had feared you were lost to the desert," he exclaimed. "The city, it's changed." Without waiting for further explanation, Malik hurried towards his home. The marketplace, once filled with merchants peddling their wares and children chasing each other, was deserted. The few people he saw hurried about with their heads down, their faces pale, and their conversations mere whispers. Reaching his home, Malik found his parents in the courtyard, setting up barriers and inscribing protective runes on the walls. His mother's face, always a beacon of strength and love, was lined with worry. His father's hands, though steady, moved with an urgency Malik had never seen before. "Noor?" Malik inquired, dread pooling in his stomach. His father looked up, a shadow passing over his eyes. "Taken," he murmured, "by the very shadows of this city." Memories flooded back, of a time when Malik and Noor were children, playing hide and seek in the winding alleys of Muscat, of legends whispered by elders about Jinn who dwelt in shadows and sought vengeance for past wrongs. Malik had always dismissed them as mere tales to frighten children, but now those very tales seemed horrifyingly real. The Chronicles spoke of such beings, Jalal, the shadow Jinn. They were neither benevolent nor malevolent but were born of grudges, regrets, and unresolved conflicts of the past. With the imbalance caused by the awakening of the amulet, these entities had found a way into the world of men, thriving in the unresolved shadows of the city's history. Determined to save Noor and his city, Malik delved into the Chronicle, searching for a way to confront and appease these restless spirits. The book spoke of a ceremony, a rite of reconciliation, that could pacify the Jalal and seal the rift between the worlds. However, the ritual required a mediator, a person pure of heart and intent, willing to bear the weight of the city's collective conscience. Realizing that he was the chosen bearer of the amulet for this very reason, Malik began preparations for the ceremony. With the help of his parents, they gathered the necessary artifacts and set up a sacred circle in the heart of the city's grand mosque. As night descended, casting the city in an inky blackness, the true extent of the Dajalal's influence became evident. Shadows lengthened and twisted, taking on grotesque forms, their whispers becoming deafening screams. From every corner of Muscat, people could hear the echoes of past grievances, resentments, and long-buried secrets. Standing in the center of the sacred circle, Malik began the rite of reconciliation. The amulet blazed with a fierce light, and the crystal tear, now whole, refracted this luminescence in a dazzling array of colors. The shadows recoiled at first but then began converging on the mosque, drawn to the ritual like moths to a flame. The weight of the city's history pressed down on Malik. He saw visions of ancient conflicts, of betrayals and misunderstandings, of love lost and hope shattered. But with each memory, he also felt the strength and resilience of its people, their ability to rise above adversity, to forgive, and to rebuild. Hours seemed to pass, and just as Malik felt his strength waning, a piercing scream cut through the night. From the shadows emerged Noor, her form ethereal, her face a mirror of anguish. The Jalal had chosen her as their vessel, the embodiment of the city's unresolved past. Tears streamed down Malik's face as he reached out to Noor, their fingers inches apart. "Remember who you are," he pleaded. "Don't let the shadows define you." A battle of wills ensued. The Jalal, sensing their hold weakening, redoubled their efforts, causing the very ground to tremble. But the combined strength of the amulet and the crystal tear, fueled by Malik's unwavering love and determination, began to turn the tide. As dawn's first light broke over the horizon, a blinding flash illuminated the mosque. When the city's inhabitants dared to look again, the shadows had receded, their whispers silenced. At the center of the sacred circle stood Malik, the amulet and crystal tear still glowing, holding a weakened but alive Noor in his arms. Muscat had been saved, its shadows of the past confronted and reconciled. But as the city began its journey of healing and rebuilding, Malik knew that his own journey was far from over. The Chronicle still held many more secrets, and the balance between the worlds of man and Jinn would always need guardians to protect it. With Noor by his side and the amulet's power coursing through him, Malik was ready for whatever challenges the future held. And as the sun cast its golden rays over the city, a new chapter in the Near East Jinn Chronicles began. We hope you have enjoyed our storytelling offering tonight. Please be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to be alerted of future weekly additions to our collections. Paranormal Untold Stories.